all viewers, attendees, please join me to welcome a well-known and a successful actor, model, film producer, writer, and entrepreneur, Kunal Kapoor. We are really excited and glad to host you at the Inspiring Leadership Dialogue, a fireside chat round, sir, at India's first and biggest New Normal Healthcare Leadership Summit and Awards, hosted by Adacom Media. I welcome
Thank,
you, Kunal, at this forum.
thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure being here amongst such esteemed people that are doing such wonderful work.
Great. So, Kunal, before the fireside chat round, please, I would like to have the honors to to introduce a bit to the audience who are your fan or who are aware of you, but still, I would like to introduce you a bit. So, let me start with a small introduction about Kunal. He has been into the film industry for almost 17 years now and has done many films so far. To name few, you made a debut in Bollywood movie with Meenakshi in 2004, which was helmed by artist M.F. Hussain. The next hit movie was Rang De Basanti, for which you received a nomination of the Filmfare Best Supporting Actor Award category. You also appeared in the film like Laga Chunari Mein Daag, Aja Nachle, and Bachna E Hasino. Kunal has voiced the Indian god Rama in Mahayuddha Rama, an animation film. He is also best known for his for playing Sam in Shah Rukh Khan's Dawn 2. You won the Asia Vision Awards for Indian epic action historic drama film Veeram. In 2017, you starred in Gold, based on a first Indian hockey team to win the gold at Olympics. The film saw you pairing up with Akshay Kumar for the first time. In 2021, Kunal has three releases. The first one was in the T-series production Koi Jaane Na, followed by Disney Hotstar's web series The Empire, in which he played the role of Mughal Emperor Babur. The show, which is the most expensive series to come out in India with a huge success, and Kunal received a lot of applaud and praises for it. He received an award as the best actor on the OTT for his performance. He was followed by This was followed by the Netflix anthology Ankahi Kahaniyan, for which he once again received a lot of critical acclaims. This is, most of a Bollywood part of his story. He's also known for his style, and he has been voted amongst the most stylish men of the country. And so, apart from his Bollywood and the actor journey, he's equally a successful entrepreneur, and he's the co-founder of the brand Ketto, and an online crowdfunding platform and a website in India for fundraising of for medical emergency, education for pet and animals, and various other social causes. I hope, Kunal, I did a mistake. I was right in actually.
You are absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for the very, very kind introduction. Thank you.
Yes, so Kunal, without wasting much ado, I would like to put a first question for this fireside chat round. Tell us about how you thought of Ketto and what motivated you.
So, I was working in the social space with a lot of NGOs, and I found that there were a lot of challenges that these NGOs were facing. Firstly, the cost of fundraising was very high, sometimes as high as 50-60%, which I thought was criminal. I felt like a lot more money needed to go to the people that actually would utilize that money. Secondly, I found that a lot of these NGOs, once they had reached out to a donor, it was very difficult to reach out to the donor again and ask them for another sort of contribution. And it was becoming very difficult for these NGOs to reach out to new donors. It was very expensive. It required a lot of effort. And that got me thinking that, there are so many people that I know personally that wanted to help but didn't know where to give the money. And there's so many people that need helping. And, somehow these people weren't coming together. And I felt like if we could use technology to build a bridge between people that can help and people that need helping, it would be very powerful. And that bridge was Ketto. Ketto is a abbreviation for Key to Tomorrow, which means we believe that if we can democratize capital, which means that anyone that needs money can reach out to thousands of people across the world, then that would be something that's really powerful. And that's how Ketto came to be.
Okay, great. So we are aware that in India, asking for donation for oneself is still looked down upon, especially when it comes to medical expenses or education or things people hold close to their hearts. How much have we changed culturally?
Well, I think there's been a big shift. When we started off, you're right, there was a little resistance in going onto a platform and asking for money. Because, like you said, in India, there is a certain amount of maybe shame attached to asking outsiders for money. But what we've seen over the last couple of years, and which is why a platform like Ketto has grown so exponentially, is that a lot of people that donate on Ketto eventually start a fundraiser for them, for their families, or their friends when they're in need. So these are people that have donated, and they know that if they can donate, then there's no reason that they can't ask for money when they need it. A couple of years, and which is why a platform like Ketto has grown so exponentially, is that a lot of people that donate on Ketto eventually start a fundraiser for them, for their families, or their friends when they're. My voice is playing back. So these are okay. This is fine now. They know that it's fine. If they can donate, then there's no reason that they can't ask for money when they need it. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I can hear you. I guess somebody was playing at the background.
Yeah. So, lots of people who have donated on the platform eventually go and start a campaign on the platform as well. And I think what we've seen often now is that, people see people just like themselves uh, being on a platform like Ketto, asking for help and getting that help. So I think, when you see somebody that is very close to who you are and how you are, asking for help and receiving that help, then when you find yourself in trouble, you feel like, why should I not ask for that help? Right? And in India, unfortunately, what often happens is that for your medical expenses, you first turn to insurance, but India is an underinsured country. Then, if that doesn't work, you dip into your savings. If that doesn't work, you take a loan. If that doesn't work, you start selling your property and jewelry. And often people can't repay loans, or can't get their property and jewelry back. So how we pitch Ketto is that we want to be the platform that comes in after you've used your insurance. And once that insurance is done with and you still need money, then there's people across the world that are willing to help you. So I think there's been a huge shift in the mindset of people. And now I don't think the shame that I'm talking about, which used to be attached earlier, I don't see any of that anymore.
Great. So, what were the initial changes that you have faced while popularizing Ketto? Did being a public figure help in doing this?
Well, I think the biggest challenge was that we were trying to do something which nobody had done, which is that there were no crowdfunding platforms, and it was a very sort of nascent concept. So for us, it was about creating awareness not only for people that to come and donate, but also for people to use the platform. So I remember we used to have to go to NGOs and explain to them that there is a far more powerful way for them to raise money as opposed to offline. So we had to create a lot of education, lots of awareness. I think that was something that was very challenging. But fortunately for us, all our early growth was very organic. Somebody used the platform, told somebody else, and so all that growth was very organic, which is great because then you build a very solid foundation. And I think for us that was the biggest challenge. I think, of course, it helps when you have somebody who's a public figure involved in the platform. You can reach out to people for partnerships. You can get on a phone call with investors. You can get on a phone call with NGOs and say, look, I'm Kunal Kapoor, I'm starting something and I'd like to meet up with you. So that definitely helps. A friend of mine who's an investor put it very nicely. He said that building a startup is like bodybuilding. It's a lot of hard work and consistency. But when you have a founder who is a public face, then it becomes like bodybuilding with steroids. It's still hard work and it still requires consistency, but the results are faster.
Absolutely, you right said, Kunal, because see, being a public figure or being an actor doesn't mean that you will be equally successful in being in entrepreneurship. Sure. It is a different, a game altogether. Here you are playing a role of somebody else, and there you are acting live, in front of the society which you are But great, I'm sure that you have done a pretty good job in both of the delivers. As of now, what have been the achievement of Ketto in Kunal in fundraising, and which sectors is responding better? Is it health? Is it education, or something else?
I think our biggest achievement really has been making crowdfunding something that everyone from anywhere in the country can use now. You know what I mean? It's become a really powerful tool, and we have people from every part of the country and every section of society using the platform. And the other thing is that you have people from across the world that come together to support somebody that they don't know. And I think, we often talk about, when you watch social media or you watch the news, you feel like the world is a very bad place. But actually, on a platform like Ketto, you realize there's so much goodness because so many people that don't know each other just coming together to help someone that is a stranger and just from the goodness of their heart, right? So I think for us has been our biggest achievement is creating an industry where it didn't exist before and getting people from all sections of society involved in this industry, right? I think for me that I think has been the most sort of important achievement. And as far as the second question goes, I think obviously we've seen the biggest results in medical because I think, like I said earlier, India is a very sort of underfunded country when it comes to medical needs, right? There's so many people that don't have access there's so many people that don't have access to capital or don't have access to facilities, and we are obviously trying to fulfill that gap and make sure that people have access to capital. So medical has been one of the biggest areas where we've seen humongous amount of campaigns started, and I think for us what is very interesting about medical is that a lot of the recommendations for patients now come from hospitals. So, we've tied up with multiple hospitals across the country. And whenever a hospital comes across a patient that can't fund themselves, they reach out to us and they say, why don't you help these people? And I think that's great because these people otherwise wouldn't have been treated, right? Wouldn't have had access to these hospitals because they wouldn't have had the funds to do this. And even for the hospital, I think it's great because, you have patients and you have people that you want to help and, you can't because they don't have. I think we are filling the gap for both patients and hospitals, and I think that is something that we're very proud of.
So, what are your thoughts on the Indian crowdfunding industry, and how do you see it growing in the next, say, 5 to 10 years?
I think it's going to grow exponentially. What we'd really like, I think, as an industry, is for the government to come up with more sort of clear regulation. I think that would be good for the industry as a whole. But I think besides everything, I see it growing exponentially. It's already in the last couple of years. We are raising as much in one day as we were raising in a year, 5 years back, 6 years back. So that's the sort of volumes you've seen now. And I think what we're going to see, and which is very important for all of us involved in the industry and at Ketto, is that we're going to see more and more people from smaller towns raising money and using the platform. I think, right now, most of our crowdfunding and most of the donations come from larger cities, urban centers. We've already started moving into smaller towns and smaller centers. We've started speaking to NGOs there. We've started tying up with hospitals. We've started getting healthcare. And I think those are the places that have the maximum need. So I think for us, just being in the urban centers and urban cities is not enough. We really want to sort of reach out to people where people are most underserved, which is the small towns and the smaller cities. And I think we're going to see a huge shift, in, like I said, people from smaller towns and cities using these platforms.
Right. Well, so when you say this, let me try to understand. Is it through the Ketto volunteers, or are you going to tie up with the NGOs, all the already working small organizations in these 3-tier cities or villages?
So we are hiring volunteers. We're tying up with volunteers, and we are also hiring people in these cities. These people are responsible for making sure that we have enough partnerships and awareness created. And like I said, the best way to sort of create partnerships is to reach out to these hospitals, tell them that there is a tool like this that exists, that the hospital can use and their patients can use. So that we're building partnerships with hospitals, doctors, healthcare workers. We're also working with NGOs in the smaller towns and cities now, because these NGOs, like I said, there are a lot of NGOs doing great work, but don't have access to capital, because of which their work gets hindered. And we are reaching out to them to show them that there is another way that exists. So I think awareness and partnerships is what we're focusing on now.
Great. So somewhere like this kind of initiative would lower even the gap of the urban-rural divide, which we were just talking one panel before you joined. Yeah, correct. So now Ketto also demonstrated a significant role in COVID relief program. Please share some of your interesting learnings, stories, or any campaigns around the pandemic period.
No, I think what was very, very powerful was that so many people that have never contributed in their lives wanted to start fundraisers on the platform, right? I have friends of mine that have never been involved in the social space, and they started fundraisers to help animals, to help migrant workers, to help people that needed medical help. And what I heard from them, which was a sort of common thread, was that Ketto made it very easy for them. Because earlier, if they wanted to help, they wouldn't have known how to go about it. But we just sort of have created a platform which gives them access and makes it very easy for them to reach out to people, fundraise, start campaigns, help others. So I think that was something that we saw throughout the pandemic. And what was amazing for me was, when we started Ketto, what I found was that there were a lot of young people that wanted to help, but didn't know how to help. And they felt like this is not a space for me. This is a space for a certain kind of people. And whereas when I looked out west, I saw a lot of young people involved, because fundraising and helping people was a far more inclusive and engaging sort of process. And I felt like that was something that needed to come to this country. And during the pandemic, I had a friend of mine who called me, and he said his daughter's 11 years old. And she was watching the news with him, the migrant crisis that was happening. And she turned to him and said, I don't want to just watch the news. I want to do something. And so he called me and he said, my daughter wants to start a campaign. Can you help her? So I said, yeah, sure. And she actually raised 12 lakh rupees to help these migrant workers. So for me, that was a really great insight, is that there's somebody that's as young as 11 years old that wants to help. And earlier would have not had the avenue or the access to do that. And I think that's what we are doing, is to provide avenue and access and make it easy for anyone that wants to start a campaign anywhere.
There is a question in the chat, Kunal. I would like to take that. He's asking, could you please ask Kunal the major challenge that he has faced while he went for crowdfunding?
The major challenge that I faced?
Yeah. A major challenge maybe the Ketto faced while went into the crowdfunding, what he wants to ask.
I think, like I said, one was obviously awareness and education between, for people that were raising and contributing. The other was that, honestly, we had no investor interest when we started off. How investments work and investors work is when there's an industry that's doing really well, everyone wants to sort of get into that industry. And crowd, like I said, was not something that anybody was doing, right? And I remember we went to this one investor who's a very big investor. And he said, look, I don't think this is going to work in this country because I don't think Indians are charitable. And we disagreed with him because we felt like Indians are charitable, but it's in a very sort of, it's in an offline way, and it's not, it's not seamless. So we wanted to bring it online and make it seamless and easy. But he said something very interesting. He said, look, it doesn't matter whether I believe in your idea or not. What's important is that you believe in your idea. And if you believe in your idea, then 5 years later, I'll look back and I'll say, I should have believed in the idea then. And sure enough, 5 years later, he invested in the company. So for us, that was a very big learning, which is that, when you believe in something, you have to give it your best. It may work out, may not work out, but what is important is your belief in the idea. And I think over time, our belief in the idea is translated into hundreds and thousands of people believing in the idea.
Yeah, absolutely. I truly, bet on that. And so see, in what we have seen generally in the actors or the Bollywood players, it's easy to go into merchandising, to open say a hotel, and open a restaurant, or maybe the chains many of the organization. But this kind of association of a fundraising idea, it itself, thinking of it is a very challenging. Actually going into it, and maybe the COVID has accelerated the kind of business of yours was, but forget about when there was no COVID, when you said that you started a couple of years back. So you definitely have gone through a rise of demand of crowdfunding during this two COVID years.
Sure, absolutely. And I always say that, as an actor, if I can market a T-shirt, or I can market a car, or an apartment block, there's no reason, or it's my responsibility really to market a good cause and use the reach that I have to create awareness about that. And what's very heartening is I see more and more actors and more people that are public figures, getting involved and, creating awareness about things that they believe in. Even on Ketto, we've had so many actors during the pandemic, during earthquakes, during floods, call us and say that, we'd like to start a fundraiser and reach out to our fans and followers and ask them to contribute. And how do we go about this? So I think that's very heartening to see.
Lovely. So maybe you are playing a role model and you are inspiring many of the youngsters like us. If this anything is possible, if you just dreamt of it and you are continuously working hard to achieve that. So
thank you.
Many of the questions Kunal have asked about your entrepreneurial role and about Ketto, but I think people would be interested to know more about your, Bollywood part of stories also. One question I would like to ask you: we saw your phenomenal work in the Empire and in Ankahi Kahaniya OTT platforms in the Netflix film. We are, keen to know that what are your new upcoming projects which are lined up, and are we going to see you soon on big screens as well?
So I've just I've been writing for a long time. 7-8 years I've been writing scripts, and now I'm sort of finalizing those scripts and turning producer and actor. So this is a whole new sort of journey for me. It's a chance to sort of develop work that I believe in and back that work as a producer. And there was a time in between where I was not getting work that I had my heart in and I was finding interesting. And instead of sitting back and waiting, I decided that I would create work that I had my heart in, instead of waiting for the work that I was finding interesting. So that's how the writing started. And now this year, I start a new journey, which is a journey as a producer and an actor.
Wow. So, Kunal, for you, what is more important and what emphasis you give more? Is it the content or is it the role?
Sorry, is it
the content or is it the role?
It's a combination of both. You obviously want to be part of interesting content, but at the same time, you want to also, I think the great thing about being an actor is it gives you a chance to live multiple lives. Yeah. One day you're a boy from Chandni Chowk, the other day you're an emperor from like some 600 years ago, then you're a hockey player from the 40s. It gives you a chance to live multiple lives, and I think that is what makes acting so exciting. The chance to look at the world from a whole new point of view. So obviously, always looking for roles that challenge you and show you a new point of view of the world.
Okay. So, Kunal, out of all the films which you have been doing since almost 1.5 decades or more, which one you, say, recommend your favorite and why is it?
I mean, there's a bunch of them. I had a lot of fun, obviously, and it was a very iconic film, Rang De Basanti. It was a film that was very close to my heart. There's a film called Love Shabd Chicken Khurana, which was a film that I co-wrote and co-developed. That again is a film that is very close to my heart. There's a film which you mentioned also called Veeram, which really sort of gave me a chance to push my limits, because I was doing Macbeth and I was doing it in 3 languages, Malayalam, Hindi, and English. So it's a very complex role, and doing it in 3 languages was challenging. So there's been so many. It's there's so many things that I find interesting about the work that I've done.
And voicing over of law drama, when that kind of opportunity came to you, what was your reaction?
It was great because it was done in a very different way. The director had a whole new sort of take on the Ramayana, and the idea was, how do we sort of get more young people interested in the Ramayana, right? How do we make it in a way that is more appealing to everyone? And that is what I found very interesting about that project.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Kunal. So with this, we would also like to tell our viewers and that you are blessed with a baby boy. We wish you, Naina, and the newborn baby a very healthy life filled with lots of joy and happiness. Enjoy your new journey of parenthood, Kunal.
Thank you. That's very kind of you. Thank you.
Yes. Well, we have now come towards an end of this session now. I wish we would have extended this session for some more interesting talk with you. But thank you for joining us, Kunal, and taking out your precious time to give to this forum. A big thanks to your team for making this possible. And we wish you we wish that we could have arranged some more such engaging and interactive session with our other communities which we are into education, we are into health and wellness, media, entertainment, and art. So let's see when we'll catch up again. So by the time, please take care and bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Lovely talking to you, and I hope to see you soon.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye. Thank you.